Okay, let's kick things off. We're doing a deep dive today looking at some really interesting source material. It's aimed squarely at software engineers or really anyone involved in building software.
Right. We've got an article here from the Amigos Code newsletter. The title catches your eye. 9 books every software engineer should read. Seriously.
Exactly. And our mission, well, it's to unpack this list. It's curated, so we want to figure out why these specific books made the cut. What are the key ideas? Who are they really for? We're aiming to pull out the best bits from the source for you.
And the article frames it nicely, doesn't it? It's not just a list. It talks about hard-won lessons, light bulb moments.
Yeah, like advice from someone who's actually been there, done that in the development world.
And I think what's really compelling based on the source is this idea of stepping back from the actual coding for a bit
Mm.
to focus on, the bigger picture, principles, structure, how you think about problems. The source suggests that's crucial.
That the right book, found at the right moment, could genuinely shift how you approach your work, maybe even your whole career.
Precisely. It's a powerful idea.
Okay, then. Let's get into this list. Let's unpack it. So the article calls it a curated bookshelf. First up is a big one, Clean Code by Robert C. Martin, often called Uncle Bob.
Ah, yes, clean code. Definitely foundational. The article uses this great analogy, coding therapy.
Coding therapy. Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, the idea is it makes you confront your own coding habits, maybe the messy ones you didn't even realize you had. It sort of reveals them.
Right, because the article hits hard on this point.
Mm-hmm.
Messy code is expensive.
It really is. Expensive in terms of time spent debugging, maintenance nightmares, even bringing new people onto the team. It all adds up.
And the source mentions it uses Java examples mostly.
It does, yeah. But it's very clear that the principles, readability, maintainability, clarity, they apply no matter what language you're using. They're universal lessons.
The article even says you might cry when you realize how bad your old code was. That's quite an endorsement.
It definitely suggests a powerful impact. It makes you reevaluate things.
Okay, so from cleaning up the lines of code, the list moves a bit broader to how you approach problems generally.
Exactly. Which brings us to book number 2, The Pragmatic Programmer by David Thomas and Andrew Hunt.
And the analogy for this one?
The article calls it a wise mentor. Not someone who gives you answers directly, but more like someone who hands you a flashlight.
A flashlight to find your own way.
Sort of, yeah. Helping you navigate problems, but also warning you about the common pitfalls, the traps developers fall into.
So it's less about specific code snippets and more about thinking.
Absolutely. The article stresses it's about becoming a better thinker, a better communicator, a better problem solver overall. It calls it a career companion.
A career companion. I like that. Something you revisit.
Mm-hmm. Because the advice is designed to be timeless, helping you through different stages of your career.
But there's a warning, too.
Yeah, the source says it's more of a conversation than a tutorial. So if you're expecting wall-to-wall code examples, that's not what this book is about. Its value lies elsewhere, in that perspective shift.
Okay, got it. So we've got cleaner code, pragmatic thinking. What about scale, like really big projects?
That's exactly where the third book comes in, Software Engineering at Google.
Right, the title says it all, pretty much. How does a giant company like Google handle things?
Well, the article suggests this book gives you that inside look. How do you manage thousands of engineers, maybe working on the same code base without total
It
chaos?
sounds daunting. What kind of insights does the article mention?
Things like how to scale code and humans, that's a key phrase. Also, why they value readability beats cleverness, essential when so many people are involved.
Makes sense. Clever code can be hard to understand later.
Exactly. And it touches on making tech decisions that need to last for years, that long-term perspective.
So who is this one really for? The article seems to have a view on that.
Yeah, it's quite clear, not a beginner's book. It calls it a masterclass in keeping large systems sane. So, probably best for engineers working on or aspiring to work on those larger, more complex systems.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit. Design patterns. They can be tricky. The fourth book is Headfirst Design Patterns.
Ah, the Headfirst series. They have a very distinct style, don't they?
They do, and the article really leans into that. It calls this book weird, funny, visual, Uses simple language, real-world examples, cartoons that somehow make sense.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical dry textbook.
The article even compares it to Schoolhouse Rock for developers.
Haha, that's a great comparison. The point being, its unconventional style actually helps the concept stick. It makes learning these patterns less intimidating, maybe even fun.
Which is valuable for patterns because they can feel quite abstract otherwise.
Definitely. But the article does give a heads up.
Right, the fair warning. What was it?
Quirky, not corporate. Basically, if you strongly prefer a very formal academic style, this might not be your cup of tea, but its strength is making patterns memorable.
Good to know. Okay, moving on. Essential skill. Dealing with data. Book 5 is Learning SQL by Alan Bewley.
SQL! Yeah, fundamental stuff for interacting with relational databases. The article suggests this book takes you from the basics.
Like simple select statements.
Exactly. All the way up to more advanced stuff. The article playfully calls it Jedi-level skills.
So it covers the whole spectrum. What makes it good, according to the source?
It apparently breaks things down in plain English. Crucially, it explains not just how to write queries, but why they work that way, understanding the underlying logic.
That why is often missed, isn't it?
It really is. Knowing the why helps you solve problems you haven't seen before.
Is there a catch or a limitation?
Just that it focuses specifically on relational databases, so SQL databases. If you're deep in the NoSQL world, document databases, graph databases, etc., this won't cover those specific technologies.
Okay, clear. Now, we circle back to Robert C. Martin, Uncle Bob. The 6th book is Clean Architecture. How is this different from clean code? The article addresses this, right?
It does, yeah. It makes a really important distinction. Clean code is about the details to good lines, good functions, good classes, micro-level stuff.
And clean architecture.
That's about the big picture, building good systems. It's about the overall structure. The article presents them as related, but definitely different skills.
So what's the core value proposition here, according to the source?
Understanding those higher-level design principles, things like why decoupling matters, keeping system parts independent, getting a practical grip on separation of concerns.
Basically how to structure projects so they don't become a mess down the line.
Exactly. So they don't melt down 6 months in, as the article puts it, building for maintainability and change.
Does the article mention the style? Is it practical or more theoretical?
It notes it can be abstract at times, more of a blueprint for system design than a step-by-step coding tutorial. It's about the architectural thinking.
Interesting. That transition from good code to good systems, that's a big leap for many developers.
It absolutely is. And this book, based on the article, aims to bridge that gap with principles.
Okay, from architecture to, well, deploying and scaling those systems, especially in modern environments. Book 7, Designing Distributed Systems by Brendan Burns.
Right. Super relevant today with microservices, cloud, Kubernetes everywhere. The article says this book makes those concepts feel real.
How so?
By focusing on practical patterns. Not just theory, but patterns you can actually use when building systems spread across multiple machines or services.
And the author has credibility.
Huge credibility. The article points out he helped build Kubernetes. So you're getting insights from someone deeply involved in creating these foundational technologies.
Wow. Okay, the article calls it a quick start guide.
Yeah, short, direct. It suggests it's a good way to get up to speed quickly.
But maybe not the deepest dive possible.
Exactly. The article clarifies it's not super deep. Think of it as a starter pack for distributed systems concepts, not the definitive encyclopedia. Still very valuable for getting started.
Makes sense. Okay, we've designed it. We've thought about distributing it. How do we actually get the software out there reliably? Book 8, the DevOps Handbook.
Ah, DevOps. The article makes a key point here. It's not just about the tools.
Right, it's more than Jenkins or Docker or whatever the tool of the week is.
Precisely. It emphasizes that DevOps is really about culture, collaboration, and continuous improvement. It's about breaking down silos between development and operations.
To ship faster and more reliably.
That's the goal. The article recommends this book because it's apparently packed with real case studies, practical examples of how companies made this shift. It offers a clear roadmap.
A roadmap for improving workflows, not just code.
Yeah, the whole delivery pipeline. But there's a small warning attached.
Let me guess. It's dense.
You got it. The article says some sections are dense and suggests reading it with a highlighter. So lots of information to absorb requires some focus.
Okay, highlighter ready. And finally, the 9th book, wrapping up this list, Code Complete by Steve McConnell.
Code Complete, another heavyweight. The article positions this one interestingly relative to clean code.
How so?
If clean code is the starter kit for good code, Code Complete is presented as the full toolkit, the encyclopedia of software construction.
Wow, encyclopedia. That sounds comprehensive. What kind of topics does it cover, according to the source?
All sorts of practical stuff. Naming things well seems simple, but it's hard. Code organization, defensive programming techniques, basically the craft of building code that just works.
The craft. I like that framing. What's
Yeah.
the one characteristic the article really emphasizes?
Its size, it says very directly. It's huge. Seriously, this book is thick.
Uh-huh. Okay. Not a weekend read, then.
Probably not. But the article immediately follows up by saying it's worth every page. That suggests incredible depth and practical value.
Looking back at this whole list presented in the article, it really covers a lot of ground, doesn't it?
It really does, from the nitty-gritty of code lines, up through architecture, patterns, data, scale, process. It feels very intentional.
Yeah, you see how they connect. Clean code feeds into good architecture. Pragmatic thinking helps everywhere. DevOps enables the whole thing.
It feels like the article is arguing for a well-rounded perspective, that being a great engineer isn't just one thing. It's understanding these interconnected areas, these hard-won lessons build on each other.
So, thinking about you, the listener, what's the takeaway from exploring these areas, as the article suggests?
I think the implication is pretty clear. Becoming truly effective means looking beyond just your current language or framework.
Yeah.
It's about building this broader understanding. Writing quality code, yes, but also designing robust systems, collaborating effectively, understanding the data, improving the delivery process.
It equips you to tackle different kinds of problems, maybe contribute at different levels.
Exactly. You become more versatile, more valuable.
Now, the article does offer some final grounding thoughts. It's not promising miracles overnight.
No, definitely not. It's realistic. It says, no book is going to make you a great developer overnight, which is true, but it strongly suggests that the right book, encountered at the right time, can spark something big, a shift in perspective, a new way of thinking.
And I love this other line the article uses. These books can help you debug not just your code, but how you think about solving problems.
That's a powerful idea, improving your mental models, not just your syntax.
So the closing advice from the source is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, very actionable.
Yeah.
Pick one, read slowly, take notes, let it mess with your brain a little, engage with it actively.
Don't just passively read. Let it challenge you.
And it also mentions this isn't the final word, right? The author plans to share more book recommendations later, points to their newsletter, courses.
Right, continuous learning is the theme. So, maybe a final thought for you to consider, building on the source. If these books offer different toolkits and blueprints for building software,
Then what's the personal architecture of knowledge that you are intentionally building for your own career right now? What are the key pillars you're focusing on?
something to think about. What are you building?